Good morning. Well, we're live, and this is the day that the Lord has made, and let us rejoice and be glad. Welcome to our AIM Ministry group on Facebook Live, and we want to welcome many men's groups around the country. I was invited to a group up in New York, Queens, New York, Nehemiah men that I'm confirmed with now. And I certainly welcome any Nehemiah men up in the Northeast that are now connecting with AIM. God bless you as we join together in partnership and other men's fellowships or groups. Let us pull together. Let us bring our resources and our ideas together. And let us help each other. Let us honor fathers, build up our brothers, and raise up our sons. I am so excited to be here. I'm so excited to be a part of what God is doing and saying right now. So welcome to the group. If you're a part, please make sure you text your buddy and let them know to wake up, rub out the eyes and say it's time to join with the AIM group here. I would like to see the men that are connected with Trim Nation or our AIM ministry in the greater Palm Bay region. Let's wake up. Let's get involved, and let's stay connected. Engage. Make sure you stay engaged and up the breast with what the Spirit of God is saying to you personally. And to those men who are a part of our church, I just want you to know that I love you. I appreciate you. I'm praying for you. I'm praying that your faith not fail. I'm praying and interceding that through trials and traumas, even setbacks, that your faith will always stay elevated and you'll continue to move and press forward. God bless you. Father, I thank you for this moment as we gather together under the umbrella of AIM, as we help men to aim, especially in the area of finances. Father, financial peace and financial increase and financial power, financial IQ. Father, I pray that even our soul would prosper. Your word says that you wish above all things that we may prosper in many areas of our lives, even as our soul is experiencing prosperity. So thank you, God, for touching lives and transforming men. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen. Today, I'm really excited about what we have to present to you. We have some wonderful men here on stage with me that you're going to have an opportunity to engage, that will be talking about financial IQ. One of our, I'm talking about go-to man in our church is Conrado Martinez, just a wonderful, wonderful man of God that I love. And I was looking out there and saw his son Jacob is in the audience today. And I just really appreciate the man that he is and the boys that he's raising to manhood. And it's so good to see. I've had an opportunity to watch them grow from birth. And so it's so good to have him. He'll be sharing with us. And Gordon Brown also, he's an elder. We can call him Elder Brown. He's a wonderful man. Everybody loves him. And when he came to ministry, he didn't come looking for anything. He came ready to work. I mean, he's the kind of man that gets in the grind. And I really appreciate his heart. He's bringing another aspect of financial prowess and IQ to the ministry. And you'll be able to engage him. And I'm just so excited about Everett Vaughn, to my left, your right, who will be sharing with us and helping with some questions. There are questions that he will be giving direction with and helping us to engage. And I'm just certainly excited about this young man. And he's a wonderful husband, great father, and he helps in our men's ministry. I call him the Rising Sun, S-O-N. And he's just doing great things with us. And I appreciate all of those who are working behind the scenes to make sure that we're engaged and that we're coming to you live. All of the cameramen and those in the nest that are working behind the scene, our sound, everything is just kind of working together right now. So God bless you. welcome to AIM. Everett, where are we going with this? You can get ready. You can take that off. Take that off. Yes, sir. Where are we going with this?
Welcome, everyone. How's everybody doing? So first, I wanted to go around the room and have everyone introduce themselves, starting with Elder, and then going on to you, Conrado, and then we'll go into some questions that we have, some common questions about financial literacy. So, Elder, if you could.
My name is Gordon Brown. I worked in the financial industry for 44 and a half years, and it's something I love, I enjoy, and I believe very much in.
Buenos dias. My name is Conrado Martinez. Our bishop always says that I should use the Spanish, so quiero invitarles hoy a lo que estamos presentando, un servicio financiero no solamente al mundo aquí americano, pero también al mundo latino. My name is Conrado Martinez. Give a little Spanish tidbit there. I'm not going to translate that. I've been in the financial services arena for now about 14 years. I've been a son in this ministry since 2001, so I'm going on 20 years in this house. Here to serve. Bishop always says that when is the best time to plant a tree? And the answer is 20 years ago. Second best time is today. So hopefully today we can begin to plant seeds that are going to yield harvest generations and generations from now.
All right, thank you. And my name is Everett Vaughn. I'm currently active duty Air Force, Senior Master Sergeant. I've been in for 20 years now, so I definitely appreciate you all for giving me this opportunity to speak on this platform, to share some of my experiences also. So what I want to do now is just go into some questions and start off with some things that we can discuss. So the first question I have, and it's about emergency funds. And a lot of people, they don't establish emergency funds because they don't know why or they don't know how to. And I believe it's very important to do this because it sets you up for success. So if I want to ask the question to the panel, how much should you have in the emergency fund and why?
Well, when it comes to emergency funds, good question. Thank you, Everett. Emergency funds are very important because emergencies occur all the time. I don't know about you, but if you ever try to save money and you have a goal and you're getting towards that goal and then some type of emergency happens. Your washer goes out, your hot water heater goes out, a car is needing a part. So emergency funds is one of the foundational part of when it comes to your planning, and it is important to have an emergency fund. Typically, the rule of thumb was 6 months of emergency funds that you need to have. So 6 months of income. Depending on your situation, I like to say 3 to 6 months of emergency funds, depending on what you're trying to do. Kind of encourage you a little bit. But that, when it comes to your emergency, that component of your funds or savings, you need to have at least 3 to 6 months just in case of something.
I agree.
Thank you.
Let me interject for a moment. We're all in agreement with what Conrado just shared. I want you all to know that what we're doing today is really dealing with financials and to empower you there. And so everything that we're going to talk about on today is going to really help to infuse you, empower you with knowledge on how to do basic things with your finances. As it goes with your money, so does it go with your life. And so we want you to really pay attention to the information as Everett gives leadership and direction. Listen to what these men are saying. It's going to bless your life. Remember, today is Financial IQ Day, okay? God bless.
Interject. True financial literacy teaches you how to put money into different segments of your life. Right now, we're talking about an emergency fund. that's a holistic approach in putting money in different areas and segments of your life, and it gives you options to where now if there's an emergency, medical, a job is lost, we have a fund, we have put away income that could provide us for 3 to 6 months as we make plans on how we are going to handle this given situation. So when we look at financial literacy, we have to look at it holistically. Monies that are for emergency, monies that are for future ideas and things and goals and other things. It's a holistic way of looking at how to handle your finances and to grow them as you prepare for retirement.
Thank you for that. And I have a story to share about why an emergency fund is important. When I was younger, I was just coming in the military, didn't have too much money. I was living paycheck to paycheck, and I was never brought up with, understanding financial literacy. So, I had to fly to a location for a funeral, and at the same time, my car broke down on me, so I had to pay for that also. And what I ended up doing was getting a loan from a company, and which charged me about 20% interest, And, I look back today and I think, all the money I could have saved if I just had $1,000 saved up or $500, to get started. A lot of people say 1,000 is a good place to get started. But if I had that money, I could have used that money in my emergency fund and not have to pay any extra money, which could have went to some other expense that I needed to have. So thank you for sharing your information on that knowledge on emergency fund. Appreciate it. So I know emergency funds are good and everything, which leads me to the next question about debt. And if you don't have an emergency fund, you will go into debt pretty quickly, and you'll get in that hole. So one of the questions that we have is, a person that has a lot of credit card debt, what are some strategies to paying them down and getting out of debt?
Focusing on the card that has, I would say, the most and the highest interest rate first, and lowering that, and when you get that down, then go to the very next one under that same category, and strategically and consistently pay it down. But, one of the problems I found with individuals when it comes to credit cards is discipline. Everyone knows that we need to lower our debt. Everyone knows that we need to control ourselves. But the issue is that we live in a society where individuals are habitually spending more than they make and have gotten into a habit of, as long as I have this card, I have the ability to buy things even though I don't have the money, and I'll worry about it later. So it's our thinking when it really comes to the root of the issue. It's our thinking of how we behave with credit cards and not understanding that the card company that is issuing you this card has a plan, and that plan is to keep you in debt. I want your future money. I want the money you're going to make not only this year, but next year and the year after. How do I do that? I give you a credit card. You buy something that you know you can't afford, and you'll be paying me back in time for using my credit card. I now have access to your future money. What do I do now? I increase on your credit card more that you could buy. It ain't $1,000 credit card now, it's now a $2,000. And that goes on. And as years go on, the hole of debt gets bigger and bigger. And so it is my belief that we have to view credit cards differently, that we have to view the issuers of these credit cards as individuals who are after your future income. And if you understand and view it that way, you'll probably behave differently.
So Warren Buffett says that if you're paying 15+% in interest rate, you shouldn't be concerned with investing. You should be trying to reduce and eliminate your debt. That's a powerful statement. As Elder said, it's taking your future money. And I too have been victim of that and been able to migrate in my thinking to not hold balances on my credit cards and to see it as a utility and not extra income. However, when it comes to paying it off, there are some strategies that you can employ. I think Elder mentioned the one with the highest interest rate, correct, Elder? That is a powerful strategy in doing it. And there's a term called debt stacking. You take your credit cards and you just list them from high interest rates to your lowest one. And you pay the minimum on the rest of the credit cards and your highest interest rates, and you just attack that with extra funds, extra money every month. And pay that one off, and you stack down to the other one, and you do that off sequentially, and it should take away years away from your time frame as far as paying off your debt. Another option is if you have equity in your home, which right now home prices are through the roof, and interest rates are still relatively low. Interest rates are still in the 3s. If you can refinance and take pay those credit cards off and take on that amount and transfer it to your equity, you'll find yourself being able to reduce and pay off that amount through your home. But some people do that and just, now they say, let's say they were paying $500 a month in credit card, Bishop. They say, well, I got $500 a month now, and find themselves in that same position and with now open credit. Those credit cards that have been eliminated now are open. I think we have to be, like Elder said, more disciplined, not see it as so. Keep those balances. If you don't have the discipline, have the conversation with yourself and know what your strengths and what your weaknesses are. If you don't have, hey, chop those credit cards up. But also, if those payments you are making, if you are making that $500 a month payment to your credit card, put it on the home. You'll be surprised how quickly you could get out of debt completely by being able to take the amount that you was just paying normally at 29%, 26%, 16%, and just pay it at 3%. So that is a strategy, a couple of strategies for you as far as being able to reduce that credit card liability.
I'd like to add to that as well. Hopefully everybody is really listening. The information that you're receiving right now is very powerful, especially when you apply it. Knowledge is one thing, but it puffs up. It's charity that edifies, and wisdom is the ability to take what you've learned and put it into practice. Wisdom would be the discipline and the know-how and the consistency in doing what these men are encouraging us to do. There is a demon in finances called minimum payment, okay? And if you're only paying the minimum amount on your credit cards, you're going to be a slave to the credit card holder, to the credit card lender for many years to come. As Dr. Brown just shared with us, it's so important that you understand we need discipline. There is a mindset that leads to debt. And in America, we don't really care about it. I think America is over $25 trillion in debt. It's something like that. Just think about that. That means we owe China, we owe other countries, we owe them that amount of money. It looks like our future, even our children's future, has been enslaved to that, to what we want now. This moment of being powerful, making America great, right? But let's make sure we have a big military and we have strong borders and secure borders and all of that. And we're spending money like you wouldn't believe. I think now the president is trying to get another package to deal with the infrastructure. But this money, if we don't change the way we move, okay, the nation is going to implode. And so personally, as Everett was sharing with us, personal experiences, I'm quite sure every man on this panel can tell you about something personal that happened as it relates to not having an emergency fund or just being in debt, you know. And Conrado just gave us a great tool here that, you know, you can take that credit card and you can bombard one, pay the minimum payment on the rest of them until you pay it off, and then you take whatever you were paying on that one and you add it to the next one and you pay it off, and then you take all of that you've accumulated and put it on the third one until you pay them all off. Or if you have equity in your home, use it for that. What happens is there's no discipline. You know, just think about the stimulus checks. I can't tell you how many times I see people just flowing in the mall and spending up the money, and just very seldom are you going to see a government send you $1,400. Very seldom in the world, okay? And so what do we do with it? I was talking to a group of men, and I'm going to kick it back to Everett here in a moment, out of the Northeast up in New York. And one of the guys was talking about reparations and how, you know, he was looking at the stimulus, and he was saying we need reparations. And something in me rose up. Reparations, even stimulus, is dangerous for a group of people who have no self-knowledge. They don't have a knowledge of self. And you just throw out $40,000 or $50,000 and you don't have a knowledge of self. After about a year, all of that money is wasted. There's nothing collectively done for the group. There's no investment into the community. It's all, we're like consumers, just making sure everyone else becomes successful. And this is one of the sad spots with me, and that's why we have a financial ministry here in the church, is because I grew up in church and didn't really see the emphasis made for church folk to really talk about practical things. Where there is no vision, the people perish. And if you don't have a vision for your money, credit card lenders will control and enslave your financial future and just rip you off. And that's what's happening, the rape of the natural world, but the rape of our future. And that's why it's so important to listen to what these men are saying. Everett?
Thank you for that.
Can I just,
Oh, yes, go ahead.
I just want to piggyback on what Bishop said. There is good and bad debt. When you look at your credit card, what do you see? I'll tell you what I've seen with individuals I talk to and I counsel. They view a credit card as a quality of imagery. And what I mean by that is, I could take this card and buy some Gucci. I could take this card and buy things with big names, Gucci, Yves Saint Laurent, and give the image that I'm living well, that I have, that I'm of an upper level. I have it going on because this card gives me access to dress up the outside Gordon. I give the imagery that I'm here. But if you look at my bank account, I'm here. So we have to be smarter than that. There is a system behind all of this, and don't be deceived. There is a system that wants to enslave you. They always talk about the economy. Doesn't it seem strange that they focus on how much we can get them to spend, to get the economy going? So companies will have profits, so this will happen, that will happen. The emphasis is on you spending your money. And they really don't care if you run into debt. That's the goal. The system wants you spending. You have to be of a level to where we think higher than that. And I'm going to stop right there.
Good, good. This is some valuable information. So if you're tuned in, make sure you record this. I'm sure this will be spread out to the masses later too. But thank you for that. And it's good that you brought up discipline and also, spending beyond your means. I'm in charge of over 100, military members. A lot of them are young, and they're coming in from their families, sheltered. When they get out into the world, they're spending on a lot of things, jewelry, clothes, stuff like that. And one of the things that we teach them is, hey, you have to be more disciplined with your money. And we have resources that we send them to in order to, create budgets and stuff like that. And it does help them out. But it's all about imparting that knowledge in them because they don't get that, when they come in or when anybody that goes into the world, civilian or military. So appreciate that, which leads me to my next question. With budgeting, a lot of people, they start a budget, but then they fall off the wagon, so to speak. Can you give any tips for being consistent with budgeting?
Well, budgeting it's kind of like dieting to some extent. It requires discipline, it requires consistency. I think once you develop the habit and turn it into a lifestyle, then you begin to see the rewards of it. Unless you can measure something, you can't really forecast where it's going to go. So when it comes to budgeting, it is beyond important to have some kind of Bible, I call it, some kind of structure in which this reminds you of who you are. Unless otherwise, you're subject to the elements, and there's danger when we don't have that protection over us. So I think when it comes to budgeting, consistency is usually the hardest part of it. And I like, my advice is really more something that is an intangible, not really concrete. I would start off small to maintain consistency. That is, when it comes to the categories, keep them broad. And just, even if you miss certain things in your actual budget, just put it down, write it down. Eventually, through the muscle being developed, what you write down will eventually turn into your actual expenses. And there is such a power in being able to write things down. There's a verse in the Bible that says, one plants, the other waters, God gets the increase, or he gives the increase. And if you take the time to write things down and put forth your effort, you'll see God come alongside and do his part as well. I believe that's why budgeting is important. But just start off small is my suggestion.
How can I say this? We have to start young. I tend to think a little differently when I look at things. You know who I am? I'm the Gordon Brown Corporation. You know who that young man is? He's the Martinez Corporation. I'm the CEO. My son Malik is the CEO of Malik Brown. That's what I teach him. Being the CEO of Gordon Brown, I have to learn financial literacy. At a young age, he has to be taught, my son has to be taught how to balance a checkbook, how to live within your means, how if you make $100 a week, get into the habit of saving 70 of it. Of putting away 30% of it, and you can have the 70. Once I start growing as a young man, and I start seeing myself as a CEO and thinking that way, that I have responsibilities, I start to now think futuristically of building wealth, expanding my territory, what that means, how to operate and execute a plan. So a lot has to do with us asking ourselves, who am I? Who am I? Am I just Gordon? Nah, you're a lot more than Gordon. You are the CEO of Gordon. And one day Gordon is going to have children. Gordon is going to have a wife. How is Gordon going to manage that? What happens when Gordon turns 65? Does Gordon have to work? Or does he work because he wants to work? And he's in a financial position to where if he wants to stop working, he can. What happens if Sister Brown gets sick? Does Gordon have the resources? Does the Gordon Corporation have the resources to take care of that? What if my son has autism? He's going to be with me for a much longer time. Does the Gordon Brown Corporation have the medical to take care of that in a good way? You are a living corporation. Never forget that.
Absolutely life-changing, because all of us are now thinking, I can see it, we're thinking deeper and broader. I certainly didn't think like that. And in the church community, to even talk like that years ago was considered to be proud. You are the incorporation of your own life. You're the CEO, in other words, of your own life, to give direction to that. Very powerful. As it relates to budgets, to just come alongside of what these men are saying, Conrado said something very powerful as well, that if you can't track something, you can't measure it. If you can't measure it, you can't really correct it or broaden it. You can't do nothing with it. There has to be a tracking system. If you're thinking like a CEO, then you have to track things. There has to be a budget. And I just wanted to say, as I studied the Jewish family, because the Jewish people around the world, in terms of finances, seem to really, really have a handle on that. First of all, they have their own community. They were given law, or at least a measuring stick, in how to govern their personal lives. This is from Moses on down. They have history. They were allowed to go back into the homeland to reestablish the nation of Israel. This is in the 40s, and there's a lot of things that's right with that. There's a lot of fathers who never left home. But one of the things that I've seen as I studied the Jewish people, by the way, the Jewish nation of Israel is really moving toward the Pfizer vaccine, and it's something that we need to look at. Why? the whole nation. They have some of the greatest scientists and biologists in the world. But the mother of the boy would make sure he's nurtured from age 1 to 12. And that she makes sure that he gets the milk he needs, and she's going to make sure he has the cereal and the breakfast and reading at bedtime and all of those kinds of things. Father's kind of guiding, he's in there, but she's taking the lead. She's the nurturer. At the age of 12, I must be about my Father's business. You'll see Jesus say that. I must be about my Father's business. The father then picks up and starts teaching the boy how to take over the family business. One day you will lead this. And if you're ever going to be a leader, you can't play games all your life. You can't stay in the room and stay disengaged from everyone and get into some zone. I need you to be engaged mentally, financially, emotionally, and you need to learn how to take responsibility now. What these men are saying is powerful. I'm sitting there wishing I heard that when I was a young father with my boy. I was kind of wanting to be a father in terms of conversation and maybe activity. But I didn't think that you are your own corporation. You are responsible, not into that depth. Can't change the past, but I can certainly move today. And that's what I love about knowledge and wisdom. It is to take what you learn and apply it. And as Everett is a young man growing up, he's dealing with many soldiers. Just a great investment here, where you can take what these men are saying and help young soldiers, as I'm going to help many young men to start thinking like a leader. Like your body is the company, man. Your mind is a terrible thing to waste.
Yes, you're never too young or too old to learn. I'm still learning today, So I wanted to go back a little bit to budget and savings and stuff like that. I know a lot of people, excuse me, they don't believe in bank accounts, in banks. Even some of my family members, they save cash. They budget cash with the, envelope system. They put different, bills set apart, different amounts of cash in envelopes. So with banks, I wanted to ask, what advice can you give on, starting a savings or a checking account? Why is it important to have your money in banks? And also, there's online banks compared to, the brick and mortar ones that a lot of people go to also or have accounts with. And I wanted to see, the question is, are online banks safe, compared to the brick and mortar ones?
Well, simple to me, I believe in banking. I believe in savings, having a saving account, a checking account, for a couple of reasons. One, it develops habits, a habit of you going on a weekly basis, a monthly basis, and putting money in. Second, it develops money management skills. Most of these banks now have so many different vehicles for how you can use and place your money to get different interest rates, how that money can be maneuvered from checking to savings to CDs. It's online now to where most of my banking and investing I do right on my phone. So it increases your understanding of technology. And this is exactly where the world is going. When you take a look, and oftentimes I think back to when I was a young man, and we used to have what they called a rotary phone and things of that sort. And had you walked in my house and talked to my father and said, you know, Dad, I'm thinking of one day having a phone that will be able to put in my pocket and walk and it isn't connected by wires. My father probably would have knocked you out and said, boy, get your head together and stop all that daydreaming. We are living in an age of technology and moving money, Bitcoin. There are just so many things to where large sums of money are being moved in fractions of seconds. We have to get acquainted with these systems and how to move money. And I think it starts simply with a bank account, a savings account, a checking account, learning how to manage, learning how to move money. Again, if you are the CEO of Gordon Brown, get used to this, because one day you want to be able to move millions. So it starts by moving $20.
I would also add, when it comes to banking, especially in our communities of color, I came across a stat that was, it always hits me. It's like, we know the reality, but then we have numbers reflect the reality. You're like, whoa. And it said that 9% of the population pays 80% of the NSF fees. And that's the insufficient fund fee. So when it comes to banking, obviously there's a responsibility. There's a response and an ability that you have to do, because many times they too, or we tend to fall victim to the banking system. Billions of dollars are generated every year when it comes to these fees. So I guess my message is kind of a caveat and a warning. If you're going to bank, make sure you're responsible and apply discipline to your banking, because these systems that are there are out to get your money. There was a time in 2008 when we went to the crash that these fees were supposed to be abolished. Lo and behold, somehow, some way, they find themselves back in. And the banks are making billions of dollars on it. I'm not here to bash the banks, but I'm here to warn. Because we as African Americans, we make about 10% of the population, and 9% pay 80% of the fees. I'm curious to see which part of that 9% are we. Now, when it comes to banking itself, as Elder said, we're moving towards electronic. Everything is moving to the digital world, so we have to be with the times. We have to embrace the tools that are there. There are some phenomenal tools when it comes to banking. However, just make sure that if you are going to go online, that the bank is FDIC approved. That means your money is insured. And just do your research. It doesn't take long to look up a bank if there is an online bank, to look it up and to get some reviews and some information on it. But we're moving towards that, and as far as it being everything, currency, our lives now, you look at Facebook, social media, for example, it's just pretty much we're taking our lives from the physical form and translating it into the digital form. And money's doing the same thing. There's a big change / revolution that's occurring right now when it comes to money, and banking is important. So as I will go with what Elder Brown said, we definitely have to be a part of the game. We definitely have to be a part of the game, but also let's get informed. Let's not be abused by NSF charges, but also let's open our scope and grow beyond what traditional banking is right now.
Just to add to that, thank you all for your input. Great answers. Let me just add to that. The African American people has, over the years, from slavery up until the late 50s and 60s, have been marginalized, abused, and even sometimes terminated, exterminated, like insects. So there's a history there, and there's a lot of fear. When I first moved here, and some of the elders of the city started telling me the stories of why they don't bank or why they don't go to the doctor, and some of the things that were happening in our community in the Melbourne area. Like a dentist saying to a man he has a bad toothache, you know, I would rather work on a mule than to pull your tooth. And he has to drive all the way to Tampa to get his tooth pulled. Okay, this is history. That kind of demoralization, a stigma placed on your color, can create all kinds of negative emotions. One of the major things that hit our people, when I say our, I'm talking about African American. I happen to be African American. I believe God loves the world, but I'm just letting you know my experience. I think fear is a major issue that blocks us from, especially our people, passing it down through the generations. You can't trust a bank, you can't trust a doctor, you can't trust a vaccine. We know that there are things that have happened, the Tuskegee Airmen and all of these other things that happened, Black Wall Street. These things are historical. We need to look at it. But right now it's kind of hard to attack an ethnic group without it becoming world news. It's very difficult to kill black people with a vaccine, only black people. Where did they separate it? How did they line everybody up and take them to Miami into a warehouse and then inject them with it? How are you going to do that? And there are people who read scriptures. They're QAnon Christians. You know, they're reading all of these different conspiracy theories and believing it. They believe it more than they believe the word. If you read Matthew 24 and 25, you're going to see where Jesus prophesied these things to come. Whoever you put in office is not going to stop it from happening. The Bible will be fulfilled. This is not our home, we're passing through. But Jesus said, while you're here, occupy until I come. And if you check it out in the scripture, it means do the work of a banker. That's what it means. So how can you, if you believe in what Jesus is saying, he said you can look at the banking system and you'll know what I mean when I say occupy. You're not supposed to sit in your house and be afraid of who's going to be the next president or the laws that they're passing. You're supposed to continue to do my work and invest and remain disciplined and work and do this and that. Invest in properties and keep growing and keep investing and keep growing and keep investing until he snatches you out of here. That's how you're supposed to work. You're supposed to be in the world, but not of the world. You're not isolated, you're not fragmented. You understand Bitcoin. You understand how things flow. You're the CEO. You're measuring your stuff. You're budgeting, doing everything you need to do and investing until Jesus comes. So I just would like to add this fear piece. Don't allow fear to dictate how you function and flow. Open up a checking account. I had a young man coming off the street, and he came in. He said, "You were talking about tithing?" I said, "Yes." And he, in the bathroom, gave me $6,000 cash. I said, "Son, what are you doing?" He said, "I don't know what I'm doing." Let me help you to put this in the bank, son. He don't know. He had no clue. Nobody to teach him, no one to train him. I'm seeing him now. He's got his own business. He's functioning and flowing and thriving. But he had to come into the community. What would make you afraid of putting your money in the bank? What were the stories you heard? Well, they could be robbing me. Well, you need a little faith if you're going to put it in the bank. And if you can trust those people you don't know that could be robbing you, you can't trust God. O ye of little faith.
Thank you. Fear will definitely prevent us from success. And, this forum here is to help us, overcome that fear of, putting our money in banks. You know, this forum, the knowledge that you're getting here is to enhance our financial literacy. So pick up on this, share this with your loved ones, with your friends, and share it with your children too. So going back to fear, a lot of people are afraid of investing also. So one of the questions I have here is with stocks and bonds. You know, what's the difference between stocks and bonds, and which ones should I invest in, or which ones should we invest in?
A lot of that has to do with, there's no one answer. A lot of that has to do with your age, your income, where you're particularly at this time in your life. An older person probably will want a more safe investment. Bonds tend to be more safe because they pay you a fixed income on a monthly basis. They are not as risky as stocks. Having said that, there are some stocks that are not as risky as other stocks. A lot has to do, again, with your age and your risk tolerance. I always describe Wall Street and the investment world as an amusement park. There are individuals who will go to an amusement park who won't get on a roller coaster. Why? Because their risk tolerance, I can't do that, but I'll get on the merry-go-round. Well, guess what? The investment world is like that. There are some individuals who will buy this stock and that stock, but I'm not going to go into a Bitcoin. Why? It's a roller coaster. I could go down $10,000-$15,000 a day. It could go up $10,000-$15,000. There are individuals, if they saw their stock go down $10 in one day, would have a fit. Imagine 15,000, you know. So, but I think overall, and I just want to say this: we need to do our study. We need to investigate. For you to truly grow, by my belief, you have to invest, and you need to invest in stocks and bonds. The world is changing. There is a new technology coming out that I'm very big on. It's called augmented reality. With augmented reality, it has to do with the glasses, wearables. This is going to be one of the major changes going forward. It's going to change everything from the military to how we live. With these glasses, if the Army or some branch of the service is out, they could pull on these glasses and get a diagram of where the enemy is, looking through these glasses, and the glasses will then give them a tactic for them to execute. These glasses will be used by doctors. I'm doing brain surgery tomorrow. This is my team. Okay, we just did a 3D scan of this gentleman's brain who we're going to be working on tomorrow. We now could run that through our augmented reality glasses tonight. You're at your house, you're at your house, you're at your house, I'm at my house, and yet we're connected to see just how we're going to perform this surgery tomorrow. Augmented reality, coming to church. I don't feel that well today. I put on my glasses, I appear in the front of the church, and an usher walks me in and sits me down in the front row, and I can hear the service. Bishop has his augmented reality glasses. During the week, he can record 100, 200, 300 different counseling sessions with individuals who, when they put on their augmented reality glasses, they're sitting in front of Bishop right now. It becomes real, the imagery. This is going to change everything. I'm reading the scriptures. You have seen the TV with how Iron Man, he gets those displays, and you'll be able to with the augmented reality. I'm in the Gospel of John. Okay, you know what? I want to change from the King James to the Douay version. I'm just doing this, and I could now see it. You know what? Jesus is doing the Sermon on the Mount. I now hit something else on my glasses, and guess where I'm at? I'm in Jerusalem. At the time Christ was in seeing as if being there and hearing the Sermon on the Mount. It's going to change everything of how we learn, going to school, the displays of the ocean and outer space are going to be real as if you are there. I'm home. I call my wife. She has on her glasses. Babe, I can't find such and such. Go into the bedroom with my 3D glasses. I'm walking in. Look on that shelf. Oh, that's where it is. Boom. I'm done. I could talk about this all day.
You sound like Dr. Manhattan.
I could talk about this all day. And I'm just going to say this. This is funny. We'll talk about this later, but there's a company that's big in augmented reality glasses. I've been meeting with brothers in the church, and we've opened up investment accounts. One of the brothers, eventually he'll probably testify, he bought the stock. He's doubled his money in 2 weeks. We have to be on top of change. That's where the Lord wants us to be. We can't be afraid of the future. We need to grab the future and bring it to our presence in terms of our behavior.
Let me add to that. Thank you for that virtual walk. I was there with you, man. I was there with you. I was tracking every move, every room. That's kind of scary, too. It's kind of godlike. It's kind of godlike. And, you know, when you think about this is good as it relates to fear, they say our cerebral, we only use maybe 10% of our brain capacity. I watched a movie called Lucy. I would recommend you watch that. Did you ever see that? That was powerful, which because of some type of drug or whatever, she was able to unlock 100% of her cerebral. And some of the things that scientists believe you'll be able to do if you can do it, almost like you can see physically, you can see all of the digital things that's going on, and you can manipulate matter. That's godlike. And just think about Adam before he fell. And some of the things he could do and see beyond our scope today. And we thank God for the second Adam, which is Christ Jesus our Lord, who brings us back to right standing in the Lord. But some of these things really let me know that the next life after this one is going to be so much better and grander. And I'm anticipating that. We're talking about investment. Gordon Brown shared that we need to look at the future when we're investing. He's about stocks and bonds. They're in this world. I'm not in this world. My son is actually getting involved with stocks. I don't know what it was, maybe fear. I think I was drilled in church saying only what you do for Christ is going to last. This world is going to crumble. This world system, that stuff was beating us, and it kind of killed that hunger to step outside the box and start pursuing other things. So just like things that I missed as a child, I'm able to live through my son. I see, Conrado, you doing the same thing. Some things we miss, we can actually experience if we get involved with the next generation or grab the future. And so, as Gordon shared, he's in this world. We need to make sure that the bonds, which is safe, I like the whole imagery of a theme park. Some people go to the roller coaster, a big old man sitting on a roller coaster. I'm sorry, sitting on a Ferris wheel, a big grown 80-year-old, because, that's safe for him. Then you'll see a teenager going for the big roller coasters. I like it all. When I was 30 years old, I was raised in Brevard County. I had never gone to Disney World and never experienced the Islands of Adventure. I was 34. And Keith Miller in our church said, Bishop, let's go to the Islands of Adventure. You got to see this virtual world. And just, when I was a kid, I was told that was satanic or was not like God. And wherever you go, God's going to punish you. So none of the children explored Central Florida. I'm still trying to understand, how do you teach people that? My parents, of course, followed and believed, which affected us. And Keith just kept saying it to me. I have a son myself, and he says, talking about investing now, Bishop, he didn't know my history. We got to go to Orlando. I finally said, okay, but I didn't set it up. He set it up. He made sure that he got the tickets for us. I don't know what drove him to do that. I didn't have it in me. Got into his vehicle. He had a whole, what do you call, a cooler full of subs and drinks. And he was so strong that day. And he pulled it all there, and we walked on into the Islands of Adventure together. My son was with me. He had a speech impediment. I didn't know where I was going. I was amazed with them. I said, wow, all of this is over here just an hour away, and I'm locked in some world. Pastoring a church. I can see what the Bible says about the future, but what about living in America, hand to hand, across this nation? Man, we got to the Islands of Adventure, man, and the first thing we did is got on the Hulk. It blew my mind. It blew my mind. I gritted my teeth. God, dog. They took a picture of us, and you could see us all like, and you could see my son. It was like beyond anything he ever imagined. As soon as we're done, Keith said, encore. Let's do it again. Let's do it again. I jumped on it the second time. We rode it like that through the whole park. You could get express passes at the time. Everybody standing in line. And we on the ride, jump back to the express line and ride it again. Encore. Jurassic Park. Encore. Fire and Ice. Encore. We get over to this water type. I forget the name of it. Atlantis? Not Atlantis. This water thing, man, I forget what it was, but my son had a speech impediment. He was so happy. He was jumping up and down. He said, thank you, Mr. Keith. Thank you, Mr. Keith. And we all grabbed each other and just started crying because I didn't have it in me. I had no vision for it. And he unlocked something in my boy. That's why we need each other. I know nothing about investment. These men do. But through their eyes, I can see the future. And you may be in the same boat. Maybe not as drastic as I was, where your childhood is taken and fear grips you about stepping out and trusting and doing something different or investing in your future. But take that chance. I did. Someone helped me along the way. And that day, they were like Superman. Keith brought that cooler in. It was heavy. He carried it the whole way, and he served us, man. He doesn't know what he unlocked in my soul. I cried for days the way my son was just bouncing. And thank you. He kept saying, thank you, Mr. Keith. Thank you, you know. And that's what I'm praying that you'll be able to say to Conrado, thank you, Mr. Martinez, to Gordon Brown. Thank you, Mr. Brown. To Everett Vaughn. Thank you, Vaughn. You open me up to a whole nother world. Everett.
Thank you for that. So what I want to do now is give an opportunity for, any final remarks from each of the members here before we close out with Bishop. I know this is a lot of information, a lot of nuggets that we can use to increase our financial literacy, and we've only, touched the tip of it, of investing, of budgeting, of savings, for emergency funds and stuff like that. There's a lot more information out there, and I'm sure we'll have a lot more sessions like this. So, Mr. Conrado, if you have any final remarks.
Well, sometimes you give, but today I think I received more than I've given, and it's been quite a blessing. I had this epiphany that hit me a few weeks ago. I was with my employee, and he was opening things up to me. He was just opening things in me, and I had the visual, and the visual is this, Bishop. Some people are dumpsters, and some people are excavators. All you men here, what we're doing, I'm hoping that we can begin to dig that ground and begin to unearth the diamonds and the resources that are really intangibles that God has given us. And in the process, it could translate into building the kingdom. Ultimately, that is why we're doing this. It's not just about us who are believers. We have a whole nother standard. And it reminds me of a gentleman I came across a couple of months back. I thought I was smart, and I told him, I said, we were talking about business. He asked me what business am I in. I'm like, well, I'm in the mortgage business. He's like, well, you're making money. I was like, touche. I said, what business are you in? He's like, well, I'm in the trucking business. I was like, well, you're making money. And I told him, well, it's not what you make, it's what you keep, right? He says, no, it's what you give away. So even in this, we speak about financial IQ and being able to retain and grow. But remember, it's a purpose. It's not just for our own. The tree never eats from its own fruit. Never. So just like Elder Brown shared with me as far as I'm a corporation, that is a whole new reality now. That because of the information, being exposed to the information, I have a responsibility now to walk in that information, in that light. But we also, people of the light, we know that we're not doing this for us. It's to be able to give away.
Well, I'm just going to say one thing. This has been an awesome session. I've learned from everyone. And I want you to, as corporate CEOs, to associate yourself with corporate CEOs, your company, your associates. And remember this, individuals will either add to you, subtract from you, multiply you, or divide you. God bless you.
Today has been a phenomenal day, and when I'm done, Everett will close, not me, and encourage people to join the Ames group and give final remarks and pray, and we'll be done. There are moments when I sit in this seat here, and there are times when I listen to men and I'm able to engage. And then there are moments where it's just I step into another realm. I've been doing this for 20 some odd years. almost every week, straight, no break. Today, in terms of financial IQ or becoming resourceful, I feel like there's been an extension, elongation. I can feel it. I was thinking about, is it astrology when you're able to look at the stars? And an astronaut. And the difference between the two, one is able to gaze the stars from a complete position of safety, where the other, the astronaut, is not satisfied with being grounded and staring at the constellations from a complete position of safety. But the astronaut says, I want to experience it. I know it's dangerous, but I need to be up there. And I pray that today has caused you to step out of just being a stargazer, to having a mindset that you want to count down 10, 9, 8, 7, 3, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ignite. And blast off and begin to experience it from a whole different spot. Especially, it's not safe, but it's gorgeous. Everett?
Yes, once again, I want to thank everybody for imparting the knowledge into us. Thank everybody for tuning in also into this AIM group session on financial literacy, financial success. I've definitely learned a lot. You know, like I said, you're never too old to learn. You're never too young to learn also. You know, so we have to continue to educate ourselves. You know, one of the greatest investment is investing in yourself, you know, investing in educating yourself so you can be better, so you can pass on that information. So I definitely appreciate it.
Before we close, I need to share one more thing. My office was supposed to give me a memo for the men. I started a company, or actually a corporation, called the HCI, the Helps Community Initiatives. We did the co-night shelter. It looks like we're launching a Mercy House. A lady is allowing us to use a home that she has, and we have maybe 4 occupants in there. Had no home. Young girl living on the street. There are resources to help with that, and we're engaged. And some of our members are now a part of committees in the city with the City Matters group, and a lot is going on. And there's a memo coming to me now, but I need to encourage the men, if you can, to get involved. Thank you so much. We have what we're engaging as a church, we have what we call open table. Dr. Scapelli, Phil Scapelli with Brevard Family Partnership. I think, Gordon, you came to one of the meetings. They have partnered with our church. We have a direct tie into the governor's office through Dr. Scapelli. And for some reason, he and I are just really developing a strong partnership. Brevard Family Partnership and Truth Reveal have the same mandates. Even the way we write our vision statements, they're so similar. And so what we're doing is coming together and pulling our resources together. We're starting what we call open table, and we're wrapping around people who can't make it on their own. Young men, young women who can't make it on their own. And so a group of people are wrapping around them with resources and ideas, sort of like imagine a person sitting in the midst of us and there's 12 around that person, and our whole heart and aim is to make them successful. They're going to get a little spirituality. They can get some education. They can get some mentorship. They're going to get resources to come to them. You're going to get set up in a place, get you back into school, whatever we need to do to make sure that person, that's what it means, open table and the wraparound. And we just need a few men to be a part of it. The ladies are ready to go, but I need a few men who are willing to do it. And it's a tough task. This is not one of those glamorous things. You're gonna have to get down and dirty. You're gonna have to step out of that little comfort zone. Even when we go to Starbase, we're gonna need drivers to help us get the kids out. And I know it's difficult, but it's for the children. The fruit is not consumed by the tree. And you shall be like a tree planted that brings forth fruit in its season, not for you. Your leaf will not wither. You're beautiful. And whatever you do will prosper. Why? It's for the people. So let's make sure we rally around. If you'd like more information about it, contact my office at 321-952-5151. Talk to Terry Smith, and she will give you some information on how you can be a part of Open Table and become a driver to help us with Starbase and the things that we're starting to do now. Okay? Everett?
Thank you all again. And I would like to, close in prayer, but I would like every member here to just say a short prayer, and then we'll close up. So, starting with Brother Conrado.
Heavenly Father, we just thank you for an appointed time like this, that you have been able to not just give information as man sees information, Lord, as far as data and bytes and bits, Lord, but you've been able to create this appointed time in which the information can be translated into our spirit. Lord, we pray that we are able to respond to the calling with what you have created with this ministry. We pray, Lord, that you continue to augment and enlarge our calling. Truly, there are so many that need to be touched and reached, oh Lord, and that need to hear this information, this word, this touch, oh Lord. Help us, oh Father, to meet that mandate. In your name we pray.
Father God, in the name of Jesus Christ, we thank you for what our ears have heard, our hearts have felt. Now we ask you, God, to work in our lives that we might put what we've heard into action. I ask your blessings upon our bishop to continue to give him ideas, witty ideas, and leadership in guiding and feeding your people. I pray, Lord God, that those of us who hear and are taught will also become leaders and teachers and expanders of the truth. Bless our young people. Give them vision. Give them encouragement. Give them faith to know that the future is theirs, but they must grab it. For Christ's sake, our Lord, I pray.
Thank you, Heavenly Father, for allowing us to come together to discuss financial literacy, Lord, so that we may be able to grow. Lord, give us the strength, give us the skills, give us the knowledge we need to be able to be successful in our finances, Lord, to be able to get out of debt, to be able to invest. Please help us eliminate the spirit of fear that we have for investing, or knowing that, we're able to go into the unknown, not knowing what we're going to invest in, Lord. Eliminate that spirit of fear in the name of Jesus. Cover us and help us to invest in your kingdom. In Jesus' name, amen.
Subscribe to the official Truth Reveal channel to stream our latest messages, your favorite sermons from over the years, and much more. Hit the notification bell so that you never miss our most recent video. Follow us at TrimNation1 on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And remember to download the Truth Revealed mobile app to access sermons, conferences, and more exclusive content.